Hello, we are officially live. Let me make sure that we're actually live here inside the group so we don't have any technical issues. This lighting though is looking fabulous today. Okay, give me just 1 second. I'm not seeing us live, so give me just 1 second. I want to make sure that this is up and going. Sometimes there are tech issues in the Facebook, so hold on just a second. If you're here, comment that you're here. Let me know where you're jumping in from. Today we are talking about how to build a business that is calm and not chaotic. You're here because here we are. Beautiful. Okay, perfect. You're here because you feel like there's a lot of moving parts within your business. You're here because your business probably feels more chaotic than it does very systematic, and you would really like that to change. You're here because you've been working at this growing a business thing for quite some time, and you feel like things are not at the level you want them to be already, or you're brand new to the game. Like this is your first business, you're just learning how to do everything. You have really come into the right place to create a business that is calm, clear, and consistent. And you have also come to the right place to become a regulated CEO, which means that you're really calm and regulated and you know how to execute regardless of what's going on in the outside world, because in the outside world, it could be very chaotic. And as a single mom with a child with epilepsy, I had to learn how to navigate the chaos while also having a business and learning how to not only be regulated myself, but to make sure that my business was actually calm and clear and consistent so that I knew how to show up in my own business. So in case you're new here, I'm Angela. I help you become a regulated CEO so that your income is predictable and not accidental. I do this by teaching you business foundations and healing visibility wounds. Right now, we're actually going to go into healing or into business foundations, because over the last few weeks, that's what it's been about. We've been really diving into business foundations because I do believe that it is essential for you to have a successful business. Now, they all kind of play a part. If you have visibility wounds, you're not going to tap into your foundations. You're not going to stay committed and consistent, no matter if the foundations are set up. And if you have foundations and visibility wounds, your foundations are going to fall apart. So they are interconnected. And I've known that because I've owned 3 businesses since 2017. And I can tell you that my visibility wounds would shoot my consistency and my commitment more times than anything else. And so I just kind of want you to be aware of that, not to scare you and freak you out, but you need the action, you need the foundations. They are so important. And let's dive into actually how to build a business that feels calm rather than chaotic. So the first one is that you want to focus on the foundations and not other people's blueprints. The reason why I talk about this is because there is so much out there on following other people's blueprint to their success. And I have fallen trapped to this, okay? I really have. I have invested thousands upon thousands of dollars inside coaching containers where I was following someone else's blueprint to their success, yet their life looked nothing like mine, okay? And not that this isn't possible if their life doesn't look like yours, but the thing is that their energies and levels are different. What they need from their partner is different. How their time is set up is very different. And so it doesn't always work that way for everybody that jumps in there. And I was having such a hard time understanding why these things were not working for me. And it's because I really wasn't learning business foundations. If you are investing in coaching and in business coaching specifically, and you are not walking away with at least a business plan so that you know what you're doing on an everyday basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, on an annual basis, you're not being taught foundations. You're just not being taught foundations, and that must change. Your foundations are your support on your really shitty days. I just talked about how I had one yesterday, but I knew what to do because my foundations were already in place. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to worry about how overwhelmed I was feeling, how overstimulated I was feeling. I just went in and executed because I already knew what I was doing. It was already planned. It was already set up. I didn't have to worry about thinking about it. I didn't have to worry about thinking about the content and what to post and all of those things, especially as I am launching, right? That's going to be so important. Your foundations absolutely matter. This is what we're diving into deep inside the Calm Business Reset. So if you haven't joined us already, I recommend that you join us. It's going to be so powerful in giving you your foundations and understanding how to use them inside your business so your business is reset for calmness, clarity, and consistency. Let me drop that link for you here. And if you're on, let me know that you're on. If you're watching the replay, let me know that you're watching the replay. If you have any questions, you can leave them there. The link is for you right inside the comments if you are interested in joining the challenge. We start the challenge on June 1 until June 5th, and we're going to go live at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every single day for those 5 days. The replays will be available until June 15th. I'm going to take them down. But if you are really looking to reset your business rather than restart, this is definitely going to be for you. All right, let's dive into number 2. Okay, boring equals money. So I didn't understand this for a very long time. And I didn't understand this because I was so heavily involved in the spiritual culture of the online space that I felt like everything was supposed to be super exciting. Everything was supposed to be in alignment. And if it was boring, there was no way it was making me money because I didn't feel some type of way about it. I want to let you know that now that I understand that boring is what actually makes you money, my whole life has shifted. I am completely okay and feeling good about waking up every single day, and there are a list of things that I am meant to conquer and do every single day. And those things are pushing me forward. Those things are generating income. Those things are creating leads and getting sales conversations and all of those things that you're meant to be doing that are driving your business forward. Again, everything shifted when I started to realize that things that I thought that were supposed to be super exciting, and that's what made your business, right? Because manifestation equals excitement and all of those other things, right? It changed everything. So if you're in this space where you feel like, well, if it's not exciting and I don't feel bliss and joy and all of these things coming up all of the time, then I'm not going to do it because it's not going to make me money. But the thing is that the boring is what's making you money. Because the thing is that when you create systems and structures, those things, they become automatic. They become like second nature. And so when you're doing them and doing them and doing them, eventually they feel like they're boring, right? What I feel like has really changed things, especially as women, is we feel like boring isn't good for us, right? Because we're used to the chaos, the drama of it all. And it is because our nervous systems are wired and used to having the drama, having the chaos, having the emotional cycles. What we don't understand is this idea of boring is actually safety. And so because we're not used to that with inside our nervous systems, we crave that chaos so much that when things start to feel boring, we think something's wrong. But when in actuality, if things are feeling boring and those are the things that are pushing you forward, they're working for you. And so I really want you to be aware of that. This is what's going to create a calm business rather than it being chaotic. You really want to look at the things that are really pushing you forward but kind of feel super boring. I know the online space has you feeling otherwise, but I'm telling you right now, boring is going to make you money. That is where your money is at. And it is because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that is how your business is truly built, doing the things over and over and over again. Let me get a drink of water. Another thing that I want to talk about as far as things feeling calm or boring and you're still pushing through, the thing is that you are not always going to want to show up. You're not always going to feel like your business is super duper exciting and you're so excited to fucking be here and you just can't wait to show up all the time. It's not always like that, okay? And I don't know where we've gotten the idea that it is. Even if you've ever been an employee, okay, you know that there are some days you feel like, yeah, we're going to go to work, we're going to smash this out, I'm going to clock out and be it, and then that will be that, and we're going to start the day the next day. The next day you could be like, I don't want to be here, I don't need the paycheck, I'm going to blow this popsicle stand, right? You could not want to be there, but you still have to show up, right? If you still want to get paid, you still have to show up. Now, things are a little bit different in the entrepreneurship world because you can set it up so that you can make passive income. But if you're in this space and you've been struggling for a while, or you're just learning how to do that, that's probably not going to be the first things that you focus on, right? Those are going to be later down the road. So you want to make sure that you are still showing up until you have those funnels and passive income things in place that are securing your ability to have bad days and not show up. Okay, so I just want to put that out there. People that are claiming that they're making so much money in their business and they're not showing up on their bad days, it's because they have systems and structures, okay, their foundations are already put in place. It's not because they magically didn't do the work and then they're still funneling in all this money. That is not how it works. I don't care what anybody says. Okay, let's dive into number 3. I think number 3 is so important, and it touches into not only your foundations, but also your visibility wounds. And that is to make decisions based on data and not your feelings. Okay, if you have a quote unquote bad launch and you're looking at the data and the data shows that you're converting by half, you brought in leads by 2% and you made sales at 2%. So if you're saying 50 people need to come in, half actually show up and actually engage and show up, and so half of those are going to be maybe sales of the half, right, that showed up and engaged. It just because it may not feel like a successful launch doesn't mean that the numbers say that it's not a successful launch, right? You really want to make decisions based on the data, based on the numbers, not based on how you're feeling, because your feelings could change one day to the next, especially if you feel like you're in this chaos. In order for it to really start to feel calm, is you really want to begin to separate your emotions from the data that you have received. If you are incapable of removing your emotions from the data, you make the failure of the strategy mean something about your worth, your value, and whether or not you deserve success. That's a visibility wound. That's something that we have to dive into. That's something that we really need to take care of and even heal the experiences that have caused them in the first place. That is something that I do with my one-to-one clients. And if you feel like you're in that space, you can reach out to me and we can talk about that. But the thing is, the most important thing that you can do with your decisions to help you create a calm business is to make decisions based on the data. I cannot say that enough. Based on the numbers, based on what's working, based on what's not working. You don't need anything else. You just need to see the numbers. I know that we operate from this place of, oh, well, this feels really good. Okay, well, that's really great. I love that that feels really good. But what does the data say? Because eventually what happens is if you continue to do things that way because they quote unquote feel good, maybe the numbers are not going to show up because that motivation, that feeling is potentially fickle. And so if you keep doing it and you've been doing it for a year long, and you're still not seeing the numbers that you want or the success that you want, it's not going to feel good anymore. So I want you to be very aware of those kinds of things. One of the most important things that I have done to become a regulated CEO, to reset my business, is to make decisions from the data. Really learning and honing in and perfecting the ability to remove my emotions from the situation. Before I healed, I thought that this was a problem, okay? I'm a very detached person. I know the difference between emotions and running a business and making decisions based on numbers and professionalism rather than my personal business and all of those things. I've always been able to separate that. But as I healed, a lot of that actually shifted. I really started to feel like my emotions had to be involved in my business. And I actually learned later on that this was actually hurting me because I was never actually like that. And I was never really operating from that. I had always had that kind of CEO mindset where I could really cut off the emotions and focus on what mattered and focus on the data specifically rather than being worried about my emotions. So since I've realized that there was actually nothing wrong with that part of me, a lot of that has shifted and it's allowed me to be more regulated. It's allowed me to make more sound decisions. It's allowed me to prevent decision fatigue and overwhelm and confusion because I've made decisions strictly on the data. Additionally, I've stopped making the failed strategy or the failed launch or the failed sales conversation about my worth and my value and whether or not I deserve that. That changed a lot of things because once you start doing that, you start to spiral, and then there's confusion, and then there's chaos, and then there's overwhelm, and then you don't really have a calm, regulated business. You have something that you're using to avoid looking at yourself, and it's so important that you don't do that because it will shift everything for you, and owning a business will become more disheartening than anything else, and I just don't want that for you. So again, the 3 ways to build a calm business is to make sure that you focus on your foundations, right? If you're investing in any type of business coaching and you're not getting a business plan with it, it's time to look at what it is that you're actually investing in because you're not investing in foundations. Number 2, boring equals money. I know that this really sucks. I know that you want more from this, but the boring things are going to be what's pushing you forward, especially if you have a system and a structure set up that you know what you're doing every single day. It is going to feel mundane, but it's going to be worth it. And number 3, you want to make decisions based on the data, not based on how you're feeling or whether or not you're going to turn the failed strategy, the failed launch, the failed sales conversation into what it means to your value and your worth and whether or not you deserve success. You don't want that, okay? Because it doesn't mean those things. It's just data. And this is going to be so important in building a calm business. If you want to join us in the free Calm Business Reset, this is going to be a 5-day challenge to help your business become calm, clear, and consistent so that you don't have to restart your business. You're going to reset it. This is going to be for you. The link is there in the comments, and this is what I have for you, and I hope that you have a great day.